Happy Monday, everybody. Hope this day finds you well. How was your Saturday and Sunday? Was it good? Did you have a nice time in spite of the weather? It was a little bit wet where I was, so I don't know what it was like where you were. We've had enough rain up this way that I think if Noah had got himself down to the local wood yard, he probably would have built an ark by now. Is it Noah? I think it was Noah. I hope it was. I always get Noah and Moses mixed up, but I'm pretty sure it was Noah that built the ark. I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm not right. So why am I here today? What have I felt drawn towards coming on to talk about in not just our healing journey, but how whatever we do helps to heal everyone else around us? And I feel like one of the things that is a little bit like the elephant in the room. So you probably haven't failed to notice that over the last, let's say, nearly 3.5 years, it's been a little bit different out in the world. Things have been changing and shifting. Maybe you've kind of stopped and looked out and thought, what on earth is going on? Things that you took for granted, the way that you thought the world was, maybe you've seen it changed so drastically that you actually don't even know what you're looking at anymore. You've seen so many different versions of yourself at different points in your life just falling away, and you may be a little bit lost. So what am I referring to? Well, for me, the elephant in the room is like losses in lockdown. So I'm going to go back to March 2020. It seems so long ago. When I feel into that time, that's like nearly 3.5 years ago, but I feel like we've packed so much into such a short space of time. So it feels like it's been a lot of time, but also like it's been no time at all. I don't know whether any of you feel the same. So when I think about the losses in lockdown, what kind of losses am I talking about? Well, for all those people that had businesses, the loss of your business. So it may be that your business actually had to shut down and perhaps it never has opened up again. Or maybe it's opened up but not quite in the way that it was before. So you've had to really kind of pivot. Maybe bits of your business have actually fallen away. And maybe you're struggling with that change. Maybe you've had a real sort of battle to come to terms with that. There's also loss of family. So I think these last few years have been really divisive. There has been so many differences of opinion. There's also been the distance. So if you've had family that have been at different ends of the country, or maybe even different parts of the world, maybe you've not actually been able to have that physical contact with them. So there's all of the loss that's tied up with that. When you've had differences of opinion, you know, we're all individuals, we all have our own way of actually looking out at the world and viewing it through our own lens. We don't always agree with the way that other people see the world, and that can be quite difficult, especially if your vision of the world is coming from a really good place. You're coming from being heart-centered, and it can be really heartbreaking when you know that what you're trying to share with people, you're doing with the best of intentions, and when your words of advice and love are falling on deaf ears, there's a tremendous loss tied up with that, especially if you then have to stand back and watch what you felt was going to unfold actually unfold in front of your eyes. So yes, that's a lot of loss. Friends, gosh, how many friendships have probably fallen by the wayside over these last few years, and new friends have popped up. You've actually found yourself in step with people that you never thought you'd have anything in common with. So there's that loss of losing, and then there's that loss of thinking like, well, who am I if I suddenly have got something in common with these people? I didn't even think we were on the same page. So there can be that little bit of uncertainty of, well, actually, who am I? Because I didn't think I was like them at all, but right now we seem to have a lot in common. There's also, you know, the world of work changed so drastically. Workplaces closed down, people started working remotely. So you lost that camaraderie of being around people, those office dynamics. For some people that might have been quite nice. Maybe they liked being at home, maybe they liked the freedom of organising their day and actually connecting back in with themselves and doing whatever it was they wanted to do, and actually not being in that office politics. But for other people who maybe going to work was their escape from home and they didn't have that anymore, maybe their work colleagues were the only friends that they had really, maybe they were a little bit socially awkward, and maybe it just gave them that sense of routine and they didn't have that anymore. There's also the, just being in the workspace, just having that structure around you, and all of that was taken away. And then slowly people have started to drift back into the workspace. So there's that loss of being in your own space and time, and now being drawn back in to maybe an environment that feels really alien. You've actually come to realise that I don't really identify with this individual anymore. I feel like I've shed so many different versions of myself that now I'm back in this workspace. Well, actually, who am I? So there's a loss of that, loss of identity, loss of sense of self. And then what else? Well, loss of health. I wouldn't be underestimating to say that there has been a massive increase in mental health. And there has been a massive increase in the loss of physical health for all kinds of different reasons. There has been a loss of sense of our place in the world, what actually is our world. And there also has been people struggling with their emotional health as well. And I think that built into that is the connection with spirit. Either you have really started to connect in with the fact that you are a spiritual being, or you've really kind of lost that sense of connection. Well, what actually am I connected to? Why am I here? What is this all about? So there's kind of that loss of, who am I? Who am I? So many. And we've got all of these emotions. So what kind of emotions came up for me? So there's regret, there's sadness, there's anger, there's depression, and we're trying to store them in our body, a body that has no room for them. And how are they showing up now? Because the physical body is storing them and the mental body is storing them, and these are not happy emotions. These are not emotions that sit very well in our body. So there's a loss of ease, there's a loss of sense of purpose, there's a loss of sense of who am I?